Welcome back to Little Buck Builds. In today's video, we're going to put the new fuel pump in the Trans Am. So far, we're $2,213 into this project. I should have been a fishing YouTuber. So in our last video, we had some issues with the fuel filter falling apart. We got it swapped out and we found out we're still about 20 PSI, so we knew we had to change a fuel pump. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and get that fuel pump changed. So I decided to go ahead and cut out an access in the back trunk floor. I'm going to be doing new fuel lines anyway. If I ever decide to LS swap this and want to get a bigger fuel pump. Plus these fuel pumps, they only last like a year or two anyway anymore is what everybody says. So I don't have a lift. This is how I'm doing it. I've heard some people say that it's weakening the structure when you do this, and I am a professional engineer. I can tell you, as long as you're not cutting in a radius, it is not weakening the structure. We're cutting out in the flat, we're going to replace it with another flat, it'll be perfectly fine. This is not a concourse restoration, this is get it done and get it back on the road. So first step is get everything out of the way, get everything that burns out of the way, and let's get this cut out. So here I'm drawing a guideline of where I'm going to cut. I'm leaving an inch to the radius, so I got plenty of room whenever I put my plate in to cover this. So when I'm making this cut, I know for a fact that the gas tank is about 1.5 inches below the surface. So I'm making very sure that whenever I cut through that the blade does not drop past the metal surface very far. There are arguments that gasoline cannot be ignited by sparks, but I can tell you that sparks do ignite paint, they do ignite rubber, they do ignite plastic. There could be grease or oil that could hit and cause a flame, which could then cause an explosion from the gasoline. So overall, the general idea is don't do this. Just use sheet metal cutters or anything else. So now that I got the access all cut out, the next step is going to be getting the wires disconnected. So I attempted to drill out the rivets, but there was some corrosion in the center of the rivets. I couldn't get a good center point. I didn't want to use a grinder and throw a bunch of sparks into my glass and so on. So I'm just going to cut the wire. I have some good solid solder connections, and I'll just put that in. So here's where I earned my Bonehead Move of the Year award. I was using my pocket knife to cut off some electric tape, and I accidentally stabbed myself in the side of the hand and had to go to the hospital and get some stitches. It was pretty deep. And you'll notice in the rest of the video I have a bandage on my left hand from where I cut myself. I was an idiot. So next step, let's get these fuel lines cut. I ended up using a jigsaw with a metal blade, very fine tooth. I tried using a tube cutter. That's what everybody says to do in all the YouTube videos, but I couldn't get it in there far enough. This jigsaw is kind of slow enough where it doesn't make sparks. I went to Lowe's, I picked up a very fine tooth metal blade. It worked. It didn't seem to tear up the tube too bad either. So now it's time to get the new fuel pump put into the assembly. Let's take it over to the bench. So the new fuel pump came with a new screen, or sock they like to call it. It came with an electrical connector that does not even line up with my pump, and also a small piece of hose and a new little seal for the back of the pump. I bought this fuel pump from rockauto.com. So I'm not going to bore you guys with like 30 minutes of me trying to figure out how to put this all together. Basically, you pull the old pump out and you just put the new one in exactly where the old one was, the same way. And the electrical connectors didn't line up, so I just ended up wiring them in. There's a connector that goes to the pump. I just wired the red and black wire to the red and black wire. It's pretty simple. So a couple things I will note with my particular fuel pump and the Trans Am, 85 Trans Am, is number one, like I said, electrical connector will not be the same. It had spade connectors originally. This fuel pump has a special connector and has red and black wires coming off, so you gotta connect red and black together. There's a sleeve that goes around the pump. It's like a black plastic sleeve. I took it off the old pump, put it on a new pump. There's a seal on the back where the sock goes. I put that on. The pump came with that, so I put that on the back of the new pump. Lastly, I used solder connectors to connect the wires. Originally, I just used some spade, like metal connectors, and I know in a tank it's fine, but I just felt more comfortable having the red wire or the hot wire having plastic around it. I made sure to check the website, and the plastic I used won't corrode in gasoline. I just didn't want it to somehow shake loose and hit the ground and boom, which I don't even know if that could happen, but still it made me feel more comfortable, so I went ahead and did it. So next I put the assembly back in the tank, and then came the hardest part of the whole thing for me, and that was getting the rubber fuel line over the top of these old steel fuel lines. Unfortunately, I didn't record it, but it was a pain in the butt getting it on there. I just set it up temporary because I am planning on running the main fuel line down to the fuel filter with fuel hose as soon as next time I get the car in. But we're going to go ahead and test it out and see if we got fuel pressure. It's a little blurry here, but it's showing 30 pounds of pressure. It was originally at 50, but it lost to 20 in about 5 minutes. So I think my fuel pressure regulator bladder needs to be changed. But the good news is I looked for fuel leaks and there was none. Alright, so I got a little bit of a mess here, but I'm going to clean it up a little bit once we verify the fuel pump's working. I'm going to go ahead and check under the car, the new fuel filter, make sure it's not leaking there. But I'm not seeing any drips so far, so I think we're good. In the next video, I'm going to go ahead and make a nice cover for this. So now we got everything rigged up. Let's see if this thing will fire and idle. So it finally runs, and it idled great. It's got open headers on the left side. The exhaust is not even connected, so I gotta get that connected back up. That's why it's so loud and a little rough. But overall, we're going to do, in the next video, we're going to do a tune-up. We're going to do cap, rotor, plugs, wires, fuel injectors. We're going to do a bladder for the fuel pressure regulator. We're going to get this thing running like a top. It runs and drives good, but it does not stop well, as you'll see here in a minute. And as mentioned before, we're going to clean that install up a little bit. We're going to put a new fuel line from the filter back to the tank. Besides that, I'm excited. I can't wait to get this thing on the road. It'll be great. So if you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more of these videos on this car or the other projects, hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next video.